Okay, this is a pretty late video, and I didn't know if I would make one on it right now or today. And I actually wanted to get to a video on one of my other projects, but I felt that to leave it open at this point, and I think that there might have to be, unfortunately, more comments on this, would be dodging the question. And it's really, it's really, I think, a crisis when you have an issue where there's something that comes up that's uncomfortable for you, like what happened in Charlottesville. You have to sometimes stand up and address issues that in some ways paint you in a bad light. And that's kind of the way I see the Charlottesville rally. Now, to be clear, first of all, I would not have supported such a rally because I am not a white nationalist. I don't believe in any sort of racial nationalism, and it just isn't part of my belief system. I think a lot of it is just plain wrong, but I know people that do, and you know, I don't think of them as less human because they believe in something I disagree with. I want to turn your attention, though, to a number of issues. First of all, the statement by Donald Trump yesterday was not really that big of a deal. And this idea that he could have made a much stronger statement is, in my opinion, definitely an issue of, well, how strong does he have to be? Does he have to go out and threaten the demonstrators the same way he has threatened people in the past, so to speak, people that he's fought with openly? I believe that it used to be a real issue that he was supposed to act more presidential, unlike people who drink rum and cokes on camera. You know, President Trump, for a while, people were saying, why is he so, you know, unpresidential? Why does he fly off the handle and get emotional? Well, he had a very conciliatory response. I actually watched it a few minutes ago. I'd kind of ignored the issue to some extent. I think I did address it a little yesterday in a video, and I'll probably have to go even shorter today. But think about it this way. He did condemn the violence explicitly, saying that people need to come together and have genuine affection as Americans, I believe his words were. Today, he even more explicitly attacked white supremacy and white supremacist ideology. And I think that he probably should give a stronger emphasis on it now, just to be sure, even though when you really think about it, nobody's really going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Donald Trump has sort of become the punching bag for a media that doesn't know when to stop. That he's their cocaine. They have the fix. And whether you like it or not, I'm going to be the person that gets chased after for every sort of topic like this. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you join. Don't worry about the live streams earlier, guys. Hey, Freedom. Thanks for joining me this late. And I imagine that the weekend's been a little difficult for you guys too. And it's kind of surprising. I think I have more viewers right now in the dead of night than I had during my shitty fantasy football draft stream around noon. I'm going to do a couple subtopics on this, and then I'm going to I'm just going to adjourn the meeting. Let's just call it a meeting between you and I as friends. And I'm going to share a screen here. Be patient for a second. So whose fault was it that you had this? Here we go. Judge allows the Unite the Right rally to stay in Emancipation Park. Whose fault was it that this was going to happen? You have to remember that the President of the United States does not determine who gets to appear in a public park. The local authorities do, and to some extent the Constitution does. In fact, I would argue that one of the rulings in the 1960s, Skokie versus, I think it was, what was his name? I have to look up that Skokie case now. Geez, guys. Becoming a lawyer or something. Truly depressing. Skokie versus ACLU, or Skokie, Illinois versus American Nazi Party. There's barely a case I can remember that was so, I don't know how I didn't think of it. So National Socialist Party of America versus Village of Skokie. This was from 1977. It was a U.S. Supreme Court's case dealing with freedom of assembly, and it was ruled, I think, a 7-2 margin that these Nazis could appear in Skokie, Illinois, and demonstrate against Jews there. And that's something that I remember reading about it as a kid. I was very surprised. I thought, why would it be that the United States allows National Socialists, people that are hateful, just people that are going to spread violence and disunity and cause trouble or whatever? Why would the United States allow them to march? Well, technically, unless they actually incite to violence and cause violence, they are not committing a crime, and it's not, have every right to do it. And that's exactly what happened here. A federal judge on Friday, this is from the Daily Progress, which is the Charlottesville, Virginia newspaper. It says a federal judge on Friday granted an injunction allowing the far-right Unite the Right rally to be held in Emancipation Park in the shadow of the statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee, August 11th. That's just a couple days ago. U.S. District Court Judge Glenn E. Conrad made the decision late Friday after a 2-hour debate that followed a 30-minute meeting between the judge and attorneys for rally organizer Jason Kessler, the city of Charlottesville, and downtown merchants. Conrad said he granted the injunction because testimony indicated that Kessler could successfully prove that the city invoked his original permit based on his ideas. The injunction was filed early Friday by civil rights organizations, American Civil Liberties Union of Virginia, and the Albemarle County-based Rutherford Institute. Somebody please look up. Well, I'll just look it up. I know you guys are a little lazy today. So here I got a different browser, by the way. I have this, if you guys watch Sticks, X and Hammer, they have this browser now called WaterFox. And it is fun as hell. I think it really is a great step up. Let me see here. I just forgot what I was looking for. Okay, the Rutherford Institute. Rutherford Institute. Well, that's churning. Let's keep reading on. Here it is. Rutherford Institute is a nonprofit organization based in Charlottesville, Virginia, U.S., that's dedicated to the defense of civil liberties and human rights. The Rutherford Institute publishes a weekly commentary by Whitehead, which is published in hundreds of newspapers and web publications, including the Huffington Post and LewRockwell.com. While once concerned with the defense of religious liberties, the organization later expanded its mission to encompass other constitutional issues such as search and seizure, free speech, and zero tolerance policy. So this is, I mean, they were supported by Nat Hentoff and the Cato Institute, and you know, this is all around the spectrum. So these people, I don't know if you can really complain, because this is a true civil libertarian group. Okay, the Rutherford Institute and the ACLU, which I have plenty of criticism for them, and you'll see for in a few minutes. The ACLU, if they have such a problem, if Donald Trump was the real reason that this rally happened and that people came out and demonstrated against demonstrated for white supremacy, then why did the ACLU basically handle their case and win their right to protest? It doesn't make any sense. Kessler, in a video posted to his Twitter account, thanked the civil rights groups and attorney activist Kyle Bristow. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart and from all the attendees of the Unite the Right rally, the ACLU, Rutherford Institute, and the great legendary Kyle Bristow for working on this case for us. The decision came after civil rights attorneys presenting Kessler's efforts to hold the rally in Emancipation Park argued that tweets and public statements by city councilors show that the city's attempt to move the rally to McIntyre Park was in response to the rally's content rather than public safety. The All Right rally is expected to be attended by prominent figures. Well, this is all stuff that already known. City Attorney S. Greg Brown disagreed, saying the statements were simply councilors exercising their First Amendment rights. He said the city manager, Maurice Jones, moved the rally strictly for safety reasons. So do you understand? Let me make a fine point here, and I'm going to look at the chat for a second and see if you guys are getting what I see. What they're saying is that this decision to ban the alt-right people from the rally by the city was okay because the people that were making the decision, the city council, were basing their opinion about the rally itself on their First Amendment rights of self-expression. Okay, do you see the problem there? Do you see a little contradiction between their statement and that of that of the ACLU and other organizations and other issues? Think about for a second. They're basing it on First Amendment rights, and these are politicians. These are city council members. Okay, I'm trying to get back to the tab where it's, yeah, I'm kind of, hold on. Fuck. I know you guys are just all entertained right now. I really can't find that window. Here we go. We're just gonna look at the chat real quick. Daniel Hernandez Domingo says, I am sending a kiss to Jose Luis Maldonado, alias El Maluma, who is a member of the art collective of Chiapas. So, okay, Jose Luis, you have a kiss from Daniel Hernandez. I'm not involved. Just gonna pass it along wherever it's worth. Anyway, look, the problem is that these liberals, they're claiming that they can deny the right to assemble for some of these event organizers, the Unite the Right people, who I find, just out of their minds anyway. But they're saying, well, we can deny them the right to protest. Well, and that's just based on their First Amendment rights to self-expression. They can say, oh, we don't think that these are the right people to appear at a rally in our city. Well then, if you have the First Amendment right to deny them the right to express their First Amendment rights, then whose First Amendment rights supersede the others? And then, if you want to argue that, then there's actually no case for dismissing the travel ban by President Donald Trump, because in the context of the presidential campaign, do you understand? In the context of the presidential campaign, he was just expressing opinions, and they don't prejudice his decisions. Okay. Now, in the event, the judge did allow this rally to take place because you understand the difference, as opposed to in the Donald Trump case, where he was denying immigration rights, which are under the purview of the U.S. president. I think it's under U.S. Code Section 8. And I can't go beyond that because I'm I don't have the statute in front of me, but the immigration law is within the purview of the U.S. president. A city council member cannot deny the First Amendment to any person coming to demonstrate in the city, even if it's these wackos from out of state. So this whole idea that they can say, oh, they unite the right, they're a bunch of people, they don't deserve First Amendment rights, they don't get to appear in our city. Well, that's not really up to you. That's up to the Constitution. Brown said Kessler's free speech rights are not compromised by moving to a larger park because Kessler can espouse the same content at the same time for the same duration. The public safety would be better served by the added security to residents and businesses, he argued. But ACLU attorney Victor M. Glasberg said the Emancipation Park location is essential to Kessler's rally because it is home to the Lee statue and the controversy that surrounded the city's decision to remove and rename the park. It was until recently called Lee Park. McIntyre Park, meanwhile, is named for the philanthropist who donated the Lee Park land and statue. Glasberg said the city was aware of the changing situation as more protesters for both sides signed on to demonstrate, but chose to wait until August 7th to change the venue. So that's kind of a funny situation. His decision, Conrad noted that even with a changed venue, police would still have to deal with the protesters in Emancipation Park. Supporters of Kessler are likely to still appear at the park, even if the location of Kessler's demonstration is moved elsewhere, the judge wrote. Thus, a change in the location of the demonstration. So you see, what they tried to do was to weasel out of it and say, oh, but if they were to appear near the Lee statue, we would have to provide police officers. Well, in the case of the other venue where they tried to force these protesters to go, or to force these Unite the Right guys to go, would there not have had to be police protesters? Do you think moving this event several blocks away will stop counter protesters from coming? It has nothing to do with the location. I mean, the whole Lee statue thing is a fucking excuse pulled out of somebody's ass. You know, both for the protesters and for the counter protesters. It's a made-up controversy. It's made up first and foremost by people who want to remove Confederate statues. Removing Confederate statues caused this whole nonsense. And those that have been called for it now have to, I think they have to be the ones that share some of the blame. And I don't see how any politician, even the Democratic politicians on the national level, or even McAuliffe, because it's, I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not from Virginia, but I don't believe he's really been involved in the removing the Confederate monuments. Those people are really trying to throw their weight around, and this is what you get. So then it says, ACLU officials said they were pleased that Kessler's free speech rights were preserved, but urged police and protesters to use restraint. They said, we are grateful that the court recognized that the First Amendment applies equally to everyone regardless of their views, said Claire Gastanaga, ACLU of Virginia executive director. We hope that the city will focus tomorrow on managing the expectant crowds using de-escalation tactics and flexibility, and avoid the kind of over-militarized response that was mounted on July 8th. She said, we encourage everyone participating to commit a nonviolence to commit to nonviolence and peaceful protest. Not nearly enough, man. We will be there to observe and document police practices as we were on July 8th and at other rallies and protests across Virginia since January and before. And then the rest is just a bunch of documents. Now, a couple of takeaways, like I said, the judge validated a number of issues. Here you have a city claiming that they could invalidate somebody's First Amendment rights by expressing their own First Amendment rights. They could say, oh, we don't want people like this here. That's their First Amendment right. But the people who want to express their First Amendment rights, they don't have First Amendment rights. That's a problem. I think that these people on the alt-right, a lot of them are, and I didn't see this Kessler's attempted news conference today, which was broken up by people who tried to beat the shit out of him, and he kind of cowered and ran away like some sort of animal or something. I don't know how to feel about that. I think it's kind of indicative of the environment we're in. But those people are all idiots. The people who came to demonstrate, the far righters, and the people that came to counter demonstrate. This is a country where people are trying to actually succeed in life, and you are all fucking it up, all of you. And that's really my position on the rally. Now, do they have the right to do a rally? Yes, legally they do. And constitutionally, that's the way that this republic was designed, that we would have even people that are completely distasteful to our belief system, as long as they're not breaking any other laws, they can come out and make statements like this that are, obviously not, they're not unifying. We can put it that way. Let me see if there's any more comments real quick. I got, how many people die to gun violence every day? Their basis for rejecting the First Amendment is the First Amendment. Yeah, I mean yeah. Thanks for capturing that, but or repeating it. But I think that is a problem, and I have that shared in the links on this page. You cannot use freedom of speech in order to suppress freedom of speech. You can only use it to answer it. That's my position, and there's plenty of people who could have come out to that rally and given a very I'd say an appropriate response. I don't know how to phrase it, but that's not what happened. The people that came to protest against the alt-right were themselves completely, they were basically the mirror image of them, just with superficially different ideals. And that's the way I feel about it. I think that authoritarians on both sides of the aisle are ruining the experience of living in this country for the rest of us and participating in this. I can't express myself freely at work or among friends. It's not even a matter of fear. It's just awkward now. I don't know if you guys can sympathize with that issue. I mean, whatever jobs you're doing. I know you're at work right now, Freedom, but we have an issue here where people have a disparity of self-expression. And this Daily Progress article illustrates that. I just want to go briefly talk about Charlottesville. Rolling Stone magazine, they had the gall to send somebody to Charlottesville, I think, or at least to cover it. This Sarah Posner. Now, leave Rolling Stone alone, because a few years ago they published that article, a rape on campus, which was a libel against some frat boys there that they were fostering a rape culture down in Charlottesville at the University of Virginia. And it turned out that this woman who had been interviewed for it had fabricated the entire story and that it was all a bunch of bullshit. Well, they sent somebody down there again. I don't know why Rolling Stone feels that they have the right to report from a city where they basically tried to slander an entire group of people, Charlottesville. But, technically, they have the constitutional right. So I'm not going to make my free speech to call them a disgrace, avoid their own right to exercise the freedom of the press and go to Charlottesville and make their bullshit coverage. But notice what they did say that kind of gives an idea of what the problem is here. It says, unlike other events I've covered, this is by Sarah Posner. This is from yesterday. After Charlottesville rally ends in violence, alt-right vows to return. I don't think that they should return. I think we should just, try to find different things to do, because this is really not working for me. It says, unlike other events I've covered where anti-fascist protesters face off with, you see here, white supremacists, the police make no effort to cordon the two groups off from each other to prevent violent clashes before they happen. At a neo-Nazi rally in Harrisburg, Virginia, just days before the November election, police employed this tactic with success, while the rally attendees and anti-fascist protesters taunted each other over a barrier of police They were barred from coming into physical contact. But in Charlottesville, the police inaction creates a sense of pandemonium. As word spreads that a car has rammed into the crowd, there is rising fear, confusion, and anger. On Main Street, where the riot police are engaged just a block away from the horror, witnesses are imploring the police to act. People are crying, and a man shouts repeatedly, "This is what terrorists do." The police later arrest 20-year-old James Alex Fields Jr. of Maumee, Ohio, and charge him with second-degree murder. Later, photos emerge of him marching with Vanguard America, which the Anti-Defamation League describes as a white supremacist group that opposes multiculturalism. Goes through the David Duke thing. Why didn't the president condemn them the way he attribute all terror to Muslims, saying anything about the car attack? Well, he did say something about the car attack. Will he distance himself from what Duke has said about his own role in energizing white supremacists? Well, he's done that before. Will the president of the United States, who thrilled white supremacists early in his campaign when he retweeted a graphic of statistics that falsely claimed that blacks commit the majority? Well, that's not necessarily a false statistic, okay? It might be an uncomfortable statistic, but, I'd like them to really refute that. You really, this is an opinion piece. It's not a piece of reporting, and that's kind of the issue that we're having with the media today. That they're attributing President Donald Trump is not the person responsible for what happened here. First of all, the people who wanted to appear were supported by the ACLU. The ACLU has issued statements on President Trump that are far from they just attack him. Here it says how Trump is threatening the Constitution. It's from July 5th, 2017 by the ACLU. I'm not going to share this. There's no fucking time. Just trust me. I'll put it in the link. Fuck you guys. Sorry, I'm getting tired. It's just been a long day, but I'll post the link. It says how Trump is threatening the Constitution by Andres Segura, legal director of ACLU of Texas. So the ACLU, as a national organization, and regional organizations too, they're opposed to the Trump agenda anyway. So how can they simultaneously be opposed to Donald Trump and then give quarter and aid to these alt-right groups that are actively, so to speak, supporting Donald Trump? It doesn't make much sense. I have some agua, if you don't mind. It doesn't make much sense. The other issue that I see here is that they're blaming a person who had no authority to intervene in either side in this issue. President Trump cannot issue, I think maybe he could issue an executive order, but normally a president does not issue an executive order on whether a demonstration or public event can occur or not. In this case, it was the city of Charlottesville. They were forced by the court to allow it to happen, thanks to the ACLU. And the governor of Virginia could have ordered National Guard or other state troopers to come in and protect it, and they didn't. So now they're going to blame President Trump, and you have all these statements from McAuliffe and the mayor of Charlottesville that it's all because of Donald Trump. No, I don't think it is because of Donald Trump. I think there's a lot of things you can blame for him. I have certainly a lot of criticism of his policy lately with respect to Latin America, where I think he's getting a little too close to intervention, which I think is the wrong idea. It's the same as what he was doing with Syria. But to say that he is responsible for what goes on at a rally in Virginia, when this is something that's been going on way before he was president. I remember the Ku Klux Klan coming to my city as a kid. I think is very unfair, but it's the way that the media will cover it, and it is up to us to really try to figure out the next step in our existence, and our existence as free-thinking people. Not just, you don't have to just think of it as a Trump supporter. Maybe you don't support President Trump. There's things that I've decided I'm just not going to support him on. but this is not one of them. I mean, I support it. I think he did a fantastic job trying to rally for healthcare, and the GOP let us down. I think he did a fantastic job working on the immigration issue. He's doing a very good job on the economy and in terms of promoting growth policies and removing regulations. But his foreign policy in terms of and his energy policy with oil, I think, is the wrong idea. I think that there is definitely a way that he can improve it. But instead of just going and nitpicking and calling him some sort of ogre because of it and tearing him down, I don't think that that would be productive in this case. I don't think it was necessarily productive under President Obama. At the end of the day, though, I think President Obama did destroy a lot of our country's great advantages. And I'm hoping that that doesn't happen under President Trump, and I think he's doing a very good job in some cases. But, you know, when have you ever heard, I want to say this, okay? And I've been waiting to say it the whole day. I think I did mention it on the Lionel podcast. And with this, I think I'll close. Did you blame Bill Clinton for the Oklahoma City bombing? Because that happened under his watch. And Bill Clinton was a Southern white man from Arkansas. And his vice president was a Southern white man from Tennessee, Al Gore. Did you blame them for it? No. And it would have been very unfair if you did. It would have been very unfair if you would have blamed President Reagan for all these crimes committed under him, like the order slaying. I don't think many of you would know what I'm talking about. It was committed by white supremacists. I think it was his name. His name was Robert Matthews. Did you blame President Johnson for the Charles Manson murders, or did you blame the Skokie Nazis and what's this guy's name? John Franklin, I think, the guy who tried to shoot Vernon Jordan, and he was a spree killer, the serial killer that was committing racial crimes. No, you don't blame the President of the United States for the actions of individual people. Did you blame John Hinckley on President Reagan for shooting President Reagan? No. Did you blame Jodie Foster because he was inspired by Jodie Foster? No. Trying to blame one person for the actions of another when they had no direct connection, no nexus, is really a problem. And even if you want to make the argument, oh, he created an environment for it. People don't create environments on their own. President Trump did not create this environment. This toxic identity politics has been festering for a long time. And, you know, I don't have a solution for it. I've offered ideas of my own of what we can do as a country to help other problems, but I can't solve the identity politics problem. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat before I leave. And thank you guys for being a great audience. Angel Muniz, the Anti-Defamation League is anti-conservative. Yes, I agree very much. That's why I oppose them. But today I think we were talking about the ACLU. But they're related organizations, and we'll have to, you know, try to connect them. He says, you better get some sleep. See you later. Yes, you're right. Freedom Work says inconsistency is a tool that the left uses frequently when it advances their agenda. Yeah, they apply different standards depending on what you think and what your opinions are. And it's unfortunate. And that's why I don't think that I began my life, and, you know, or at least my consciousness in politics believing in a lot of the ideas of the left. And eventually I abandoned most of them because I saw this very early on. They don't really believe in the standards of integrity that other people that are not of the left do. And I'm not even talking about conservatives. I'm talking about, you know, moderate liberals, people that, you know, the Ted Kennedy type and the Daniel Moynihan type liberals. And that's it. Thank you guys for joining me at this late hour. And I hope you enjoyed it. This is Ramon with Bold Like a Leopard. And, you know, we'll see you in the next few days. Got a couple interviews coming up. There might be a contentious one tomorrow related to this, but we'll see what happens. Have a good night, and God bless America.